Kicking off today's Chicago Bears mailbag is our good pal F. Marsh saying, how many games does Matt Eberflus have to win to keep his job? Well, Flus is currently 2-6 with, 9 games left this year? So let's look at the remaining schedule and just dive into this here. I mean, it's not murderer's row, for being honest. At the Saints, I picked the Saints to win, but that's winnable. Panthers at home, at Detroit, that's probably your hardest game left. At the Vikings, no Kirk Cousins, though. Then you got your bye week. Lions at home, out of a bye week. Won't be easy, but you got the extra time. At the Browns, we'll see what Deshaun Watson's status is by then. Cardinals at home, Falcons at home, at Packers. It's not like this schedule is loaded. So to me, with 9 games left, you've won 2 of them. You got to get to 7 wins, in my opinion. Like, if you can't go 5-4 down the stretch, which, by the way, I would not expect Matt Eberflus to do that, because you know what that means? That means at some point you win at least 2 games in a row once, which he has failed to do a single time as this team's head coach. But what I would say is, okay, he's 5-20 so far. If he goes 5-4 over the next 9, I still probably wouldn't want to keep him as head coach. But I think if you're Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, whoever's evaluating this stuff, you would say, well, that is tangible progress from a win-loss standpoint. So I think he's got to get to 7. Maybe it's less in the Bears' eyes. I don't know. I think that's a low bar if it's less than 7. But we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. What do you guys think? Fill in the blank. Matt Eberflus needs blank wins to return next year. 7? 6? I mean, 6 would be double the win total from last year, but that's still not a high standard, especially considering how a lot of these games have played out. What say you? I think it's got to be at least 7. Let us know in the comments section below. From Zachary Francois, worst ran team, Bulls, Bears, or White Sox? I might go White Sox 1. 2A, 2B right now, Bears and Bulls. Like, look, as much as the Bears frustrate me and even Ryan Poles frustrates me, I do at least appreciate how he's cleaned up the cap situation. Now, you can't go full cheap on people. Like, you do have to pay at some point. The Bulls, I mean, I did not understand bringing back Vucevic. I don't think that roster is constructed well. So it's 2A, 2B between the Bears. The Bulls are at right now where the Bears were at the end of the Pace era, where, like, they've got all these expensive contracts. There's decent individual talent, but not nearly enough to be a true contender. That's kind of where the Bulls are at this point in time. So would you rather be that, or would you rather be the Bears, where you don't feel close, but you got a lot of money and high draft capital to perhaps get close in somewhat quick manner? Like, the Bulls have none of that. Like, they have no cap flexibility. They have no high draft picks. So it's pick your poison there. No Palencia, back to Bears related. Any updates on a new stadium? I haven't heard anything in a while, man, which I don't know what to make of that. I think maybe part of the reason we haven't heard anything in a while is, well, Kevin Warren, I think, is having to evaluate his GM and coaching staff probably a little more than he thought he would when he first took this job. He probably thought, okay, well, these guys are in this second year. I can focus solely on the stadium and behind-the-scenes things. And then he saw him get blown out by Green Bay, lose to Tampa, blown out by Kansas City, blow a 28-7 lead to Denver to start 0-4. He's like, these guys may not be the right leaders in place. I may have to dive deeper into this. I don't know if that's true or not, if that's why we haven't heard anything recently, but is it one of those that no news is good news? Maybe something's happening behind the scenes? I'm not sure. I don't know what to believe is the most likely scenario at this point, whether it's Arlington Heights, Chicago, different suburb, etc. From Ben Seaton, if they extend Jaylon Johnson and Montez Sweat, how much money would the Bears have in free agency since they have a lot of holes on the team? It all depends on contract structure. Let's say those two guys count against, I'll just throw a number, $35 million cap hit next year, because if you structure it, you could definitely get it down to that. You could do even less, but let's just say 35. Let's say what Andrew Billings just did. How about this? With Billings and those two, $40 million against your projected cap. Well, you were expected to have roughly $110 million in cap space, so you still have $70 million. You can cut Cody Whitehair, which gets you over $10 million extra. You can cut Eddie Jackson, which gets you like another $12 million. So you can still have 70, 80, 90 million potentially in cap space even after paying these guys. So that's why, to me, it's like it's a no-brainer to get both these deals done. And look, they might even front-load those deals a little bit just because you have so much cap space. But at minimum, Ben, you're still looking at $50+ million in cap space, and you can sign a lot of impactful players with that type of money. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. The best daily fantasy sports app has arrived, and it is Prize Picks. And what I like about Prize Picks, it's daily fantasy made easy. Now with basketball season here, I'm placing entries just about every single night, and all I do and all you guys have to do is pick anywhere from 2 to 6 players on any given entry. College football, NHL, NBA, NFL, doesn't matter. And then you just project if they're going to go for more or less than their stat projections from Prize Picks. For example, I got DJ Moore, less than 56.5 receiving yards this week. I got Cole Kmet, more than 34.5 receiving yards. I also took the more on Alvin Kamara, 36.5 receiving yards. 10 to win 50 there. And guys, some big names out there have partnered up with Prize Picks. Join rapper Meek Mill, comedian Andrew Schultz, and several others Prize Picks players and place your entries today. Doesn't matter the sport, doesn't matter the time. It takes less than a minute to make your entry. So get signed up today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100. Okay. A real shake. Is there a rookie offensive line ranking higher than Darnell Wright this season? I'm starting to wish we drafted Carter. Is there a rookie ranking? All I know this is Darnell Wright's been really good. Now, you could make a strong argument that they should have drafted Jaylon Carter, but let's not confuse that with Darnell Wright being a bad pick. Like, he's actually played really well. If I'm going to be critical of a lot of what Ryan Poles has done, I think that was a good pick. Now, look, if Jaylon Carter becomes a Hall of Famer and Darnell Wright's just a good player, yeah, I mean, you could have done better there, obviously. But I understood why they did it at the time. I still, to an extent, looking back, would I have drafted Jaylon Carter? Probably. But I'm not going to nag on Darnell Wright because, I mean, the guy has shown a lot of potential and talent. He's been pretty damn good for you. Anthony Gonzalez, if we draft Marvin Harrison Jr. And Olu Fashanu or Alt, do we aim for a high-value free agent edge rusher? Potentially. I mean, obviously you got to get Montez Sweat done first, but a lot of edges are projected to hit the open market. Danielle Hunter, I mean, could you get him in here? Now, he's going to be 30, so I think if you get Sweat on a 4 or 5 year deal, you'd probably do like a 2 or 3 year deal for a guy like Danielle Hunter. Could you team back up Chase Young in Chicago with Montez Sweat on a big but not massive type of contract, depending on how he plays with San Francisco? Perhaps. There's a few other edges expected to hit the open market, but yeah, I mean, I think that trading for Montez Sweat was probably a signal from Ryan Poles that we don't love the edge class at the top of this draft, so let's lock one in now, and maybe we'll poach another one in free agency. And I'm not ruling out Yannick Ngakoue returning. I want to see how he plays the rest of this season with Montez Sweat. If he looks better than he has, I'd bring him back on another 1 or 2 year deal. Obviously, it's been somewhat underwhelming up to this point, but I think he could play better now that he's got a more than adequate player on the opposite side. Ron Winarski, do you think Fields will be the Bears quarterback next season? I don't, and I'm basing that on what I think the Bears are going to do. If the Bears get a top 2 pick, which there's a good chance they will, I feel very confident that they will draft a quarterback. Again, that's just what I think they will do. I'm not saying it's right, it's fair, it's whatever. I've had this theory for about a week and a half, 2 weeks now, that I think the Bears, for the most part, have moved on from Fields. I think there are scenarios where he's back and he's the starter. Scenario A, when he's healthy, he comes back, balls out, plays at the best football of his career. Scenario B, you don't get a top 2 pick, you don't love the rest of the draft class, you build up the roster for another season and run it back with Fields and see what happens. But I do think if they get a top 2 pick, that Ryan Poles will pick his guy. Who do you guys got on Sunday? Type CHI for the Bears or NO for the New Orleans Saints. I picked the Saints in a tight one, 24-20. Big opportunity for Matt Eberflus. You know, things are heating up again around him, at least publicly. I know Ryan Poles gave him a vote of confidence, but CHI for the Bears, NO for the Saints. Who you got winning this one? Subscribe to the channel. Bears videos all year long, not just during the season, during the off season as well. We're publishing 2+ videos per day here on this channel. So join the movement, join the family. Chicago Bears coverage here on Bears Now by Chat Sports is 100% free. So subscribe today. We greatly appreciate it. All right, excuse me. Stamp collector. Do you think Chicago would trade up for Caleb Williams if we don't get the number 1 pick? I don't know. I don't know what Ryan Poles thinks of Drake May and Caleb Williams. Who does he like better? I will say this, and producer Rolly can chime in here.
Drake May better.
Dane Brugler has elevated Drake May above Caleb Williams in his latest big board. Now, I think that's going to be fluid from now until the draft, but coming into the season, most draft evaluators said it was a lock for Caleb Williams to be the number 1 pick. Brugler did not say that, and he has gone as far as having May ahead of him now. So it's interesting. If I get the 2nd pick and I'm Ryan Poles, I'm not trading up to 1 unless I think the other QB option is just leaps and bounds better. You still have so many needs. If it's close at all, just stay at 2, pick May or Williams, whoever is there at 2, and then go from there. Arthur Smith, do you think Mooney gets extended or is he the odd man out? I think it depends. I mean, how does he play the rest of the year? What is the price tag? You know, do you sneakily not want him to put up big numbers? That way you can get him at like a cheapish deal. I don't think you want that. I mean, you obviously want him to help you now, but I think him returning is still on the table. I love him as a number 3 receiver, working the slot. Like, he can take the top off. He can make people miss. He can do jet sweeps. He can do all that stuff. I do think that you want to upgrade at wide receiver too. Whether it's Marvin Harrison Jr. next to DJ Moore, Malik Neighbors out of LSU, Keon Coleman out of Florida State. Like, getting one of those dudes is definitely appealing. There's even guys later in the 1st, early 2nd round that you could find. But I don't know, Arthur. I think a lot of that will depend on price, that's for sure. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter to ask more questions. We can't get to them all in these videos, but we try to hit as many as possible. At HGramNFL, if you have more Bears, NFL questions, life questions, I'm an open book. At HGramNFL on both social media platforms. That is where you can find me. Hit that follow button and slide into the DMs. They are always open if you want to talk ball.